So let me read you the story. After, I will ask you some questions, okay? William Shakespeare. At the age of 1, William Shakespeare was lucky to be alive. After he was born, a deadly disease came to England. It was called the plague. It killed thousands of people. But William Shakespeare lived. Shakespeare grew up in Stratford-upon-Avon, England. He went to school 9 hours a day, 6 days a week. In 1582, at age 18, he married Anne Hathaway, a farmer's daughter. She was 8 years older than he was. Their first child was a daughter. Later, they had twins. In 1585, Shakespeare left Stratford-upon-Avon. His wife and children stayed behind. No one knows why he left or what he did between 1585 and 1592. In 1592, Shakespeare lived in London. He rented rooms or lived with friends. He visited his wife and family once a year. Shakespeare became an actor, and he also wrote plays. He usually acted in his own plays. Some of his most famous plays were Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, and Macbeth. He wrote 37 plays in all. They are still popular today. Then the plague came again. Many people died. The theaters closed for 2 years. Shakespeare could not write plays, so he wrote poems. When the theaters opened, Shakespeare wrote plays again. Shakespeare had a theater group. It was the most successful group of that time. Shakespeare earned almost no money from his writing, but he made a lot of money from acting. With this money, he bought a large house in Stratford-upon-Avon for his family. He was friendly with the richest people in town. He was a gentleman, a man of high class who didn't have to work. At age 49, Shakespeare retired and went to live in Stratford-upon-Avon. He died at 52. He left his money to his family. He left his genius to the world. Oh, very good. Did you understand the story? Did you understand the story? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did you understand the story? 1 means I didn't understand anything. 10 means I understood everything. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much of the story did you understand? Did you like the story? Did you learn something new? Of course, this is a very simplified biography, very, very condensed. I recommend, if you are interested, always do your own research. Right? We always must think for ourselves. Okay, let me ask you some questions. Multiple choice, A, B, or C? Number 1, Shakespeare worked A, in Stratford-upon-Avon, B, in London, C, near his family. Tell me, is it A, B, or C? Shakespeare worked A, in Stratford-upon-Avon, B, in London, C, near his family. Shakespeare worked B, in London, B as in boy. Okay, number 2, tell me A, B, or C? When theaters closed, Shakespeare A, wrote plays, B, started a theater group, C, wrote poems. When the theaters closed, Shakespeare A, wrote plays, B, started a theater group, C, wrote poems. The answer is C, wrote poems, right? Good. Okay, number 3. A, B, or C? Multiple choice. Shakespeare made money from his A, acting, B, poems, C, plays. Remember, with multiple choice, we must choose the best answer. Shakespeare made his money from his A, acting, B, poems, C, plays. Number 3 is A, acting. He made most of his money, or a lot of money, from acting, according to the reading, right? So remember, the test or the quiz or the questions are according to the reading, or in this case, the listening. Okay, good. 100%, A plus, or F? Okay, let's ask some questions about details. Let's see if you can remember. Number 1, at what age did Shakespeare marry? At what age did Shakespeare marry? Do you remember? Shakespeare married at age 18. Teacher Tom is only 16. Number 2, where did Shakespeare's family live? Do you remember? Where did Shakespeare's family live? His family lived in Stratford upon Avon. Shakespeare's family lived in Stratford upon Avon. No, they did not live in London. Remember, he went to London and he left his family back home. He visited them once a year. How many plays did Shakespeare write? How many plays did Shakespeare write? Complete sentence. He wrote 37 plays. Shakespeare wrote 37 plays. Number 4. What are 2 plays that Shakespeare wrote? Can you name 2 of Shakespeare's plays? What are 2 plays that Shakespeare wrote? You can probably name more than that. Shakespeare wrote Romeo and Juliet and Hamlet and Macbeth. Yes, and many more. But for this question, just 2 answers is fine. Shakespeare wrote Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet, for example. Where did Shakespeare go when he retired? Do you remember? Where did Shakespeare go when he retired? He went back to Stratford upon Avon, right? He went home to Stratford upon Avon when he retired. Remember, he retired and then he went home at age 49. Last question, number 6. Who did he leave his money to? Who did he leave his money to? Shakespeare leave his money to when he passed away? Shakespeare left his money to his family. Yes, he left his money to his family. He left his genius to the world.